Hi there Internet, my name's Ollie and I love air guns. Welcome to the Classic Airgun Show. Hi there Internet, welcome to the first episode of the Classic Airgun Show. Now the idea behind this is really when I look back at sort of my early years. I grew up very much in sort of the 80s and 90s, and there were so many sort of cool air guns at the time that I just couldn't afford to get. You know, I didn't have an income, I didn't have a job, and I was very reliant on basically things like pocket money and what I could get at sort of birthdays and Christmas, like most people. So now that I'm sort of a bit older and financially independent, I do like to sort of occasionally sort of search out some of those guns I really sort of almost lusted after as when I was a child. And I just thought some of these are quite interesting pieces and really worth sharing. So over the sort of the hopefully subsequent videos, I'll be able to share some of the air guns that either I own or that friends own that really come from that sort of that classic period of sort of 90s, 80s and potentially even earlier. So really just sort of bring to life some of these great guns, and what we'll hopefully be doing is showing a little bit of the background about the companies, about the individual guns themselves, but also test them a little bit. Now these are older guns, there is a bit variable, so we'll just be shooting sort of at some spinners across 25 yards just to have a test. Is it sort of hunting rifle accurate at sort of reasonable ranges? So anyway, look, I hope you enjoy this. If there are any particular air rifles that you want me to sort of comment on or review, then let me know and we'll try and find a good example to talk through. Now the first one is sort of a famous British air rifle from a really long established make, which is the Webley Scott Eclipse. Now a lot of the British airgun manufacturers sort of really struggled to respond when Viroc brought out their 77. So that gun sort of changed the face of quality air gunning in the UK. Now all of the major manufacturers tried to come out with their alternative. So for BSA it was Superstar, Gold Star. If you look at Air Arms, obviously a little bit later, bringing out the TX200. And for Webley it was the Eclipse. Now the Eclipse came out as the Eclipse Mk2, and this is an example of the Eclipse Mk2. Now the biggest differences between the Mk1 and Mk2, now I'm sure some more knowledgeable people than me will tell me, but it's mainly around the muzzle. As you can see here, the Mk2 has a muzzle attachment, which you can have a Webley screw-in silencer. Now it's interesting, it's the same size as you get for the BSA multi-baffle silencers of the same period. Now also then a very simple sort of push button detachment for the underlever. Now the Mk1s, I believe, had a little catch that you pulled back and then that released the underlever. The other really interesting things about this compared to its main rival, the Viroc 77, is although you wouldn't know it from the quality and the phasing of the bluing, but the actual cylinder block here is entirely alloy. So steel, alloy, mated together really well. Typically Webleys of the period, fantastic bluing, so you can't actually tell that it's completely different metal. Now this results in a significantly lighter gun than the Viroc. So whereas the Virocs, you know, are very meaty, heavy guns, I don't know the exact weight, but this kind of feels in the hand, even scoped up around the kind of 7.5 pound range. Some people sort of think where you've got the sort of the pin at the end of the action block here, notice that over time, because the pin's steel, this is alloy, that you can get some movement or damage there. I've never noticed it, but it is something to be aware of. And at the back here you've got a very good safety catch. Now people who own Hatsan air guns will recognise this, because it's basically the Hatsan is a carbon copy of the Webley system, which is resettable, sets automatically and is resettable, which again much better than the Viroc or Air Arms system, which can't be reset. Finally, you've got this here, which is the loading port. Now this has got to be the safest system on any underlever air rifle that I know of. So as you see here, simple lever, that up and you open it up. What you do end up though is with a very large transfer port between the cylinder and the barrel. People more technically able than I will comment on that. I've never noticed any problems with it, and it's certainly never affected any performance or accuracy on any of the Eclipses that I've had. Now, this particular one I got second hand courtesy of the gentleman up at Blackpool Air Rifles, so thanks to them. And it came with a different scope, and I've attached a good hawk so we can get a good comparison. Final thing I'll say is about the silencer. It's got the original Webley stubby silencer on it. I will say one thing, Webley, for as much as I love their air rifles, I do not like their silencers, and there's no baffling in it, it's just an empty chamber. It's more there for effect, and they even continued that when they made their first pre-charge. The Axor had the drop silencer, which was exactly the same. But now look, we'll take it to the range, give it a go, and hopefully you guys will enjoy seeing this nice old sort of early mid-90s air rifle in action. So there you go, as you can see, shot pretty well across a basic 25-yard range. The little discs, they're not teeny tiny, but shows all practical, still got practical hunting accuracy at a normal hunting range. Shooting impressions, very smooth cycle. It is quite a bit lighter than comparative Virox or Air Arms air rifles, but I would say it's got a very smooth action. It's not too hold sensitive compared to other comparable air rifles. That weight up front really helps with that, and having the wooden stock, it's not getting too flippy at all. I would say the one thing that does let it down, it's got a terrible trigger, especially when you compare it to the record unit with the Virox or the CDC unit on the Air Arms. You really have to concentrate. It's got a very heavy, slightly creepy second stage to the trigger. That being said, it's obviously shooting okay. It's a 9x scope, and as I say, we're working really well. I remember fondly sort of Paul Bentley in Airgun magazine shooting his Eclipse with Ely Wasps back in the day, and that was a big part of me wanting one back then and getting one more recently. But this just shot with 5.52mm Air Arms Diablos. Seem to really like those. I don't know how they group, but they shoot pretty well at this sort of level and this sort of range. So I hope you enjoyed that. That was the Webley Eclipse Mk2 rifle, and please let me know, subscribe, comment, and look out for future videos. Thank you.